Oh, there it is. Looks like we are up and running. Thank the Lord. It was easy this time. All right. What's happening, everybody? Really excited to be here today. Got a really cool topic for you. But of course, we're going to have to wait for people to file in here. If you're watching this on the replay, then you may, if you weren't able to join us live, then you don't understand why we're sitting here waiting for the people to join us. But I do this live every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're not in the U.S. or you're not on the East Coast, then just look it up what time that would be for you. But we get together and we talk about all kinds of cool things. And I'm going to even add to that a little bit and talk to you about this real quick. I want this to be the first thing in the video because I want everybody to know about this, something I'm excited about. So I used to do a series a long time ago. I stopped doing this series, I don't know, a year and a half ago or so. And it was called KG Q&A. And then it changed to Tank Talk Q&A. This was fun. I had an email address set up where you could email me questions and I would read them and answer them in videos. I had a lot of fun with it. And guess what? I'm bringing it back. But I'm not going to bring it back in video form. I'm going to do it as part of these live streams. So here's how it's going to work. I have an email address. It's the same one I've had for a long time. It's an email address that's set up exclusively for this purpose, which is for you to ask questions that you'd like to see potentially answered on one of these live streams. The email address is kgqanda.com. Now, this is not something that I can put up on the screen during a live stream because I don't have the fancy software that some of these guys have, but KGQ, the word and a at gmail.com. Once this video uploads to YouTube, I'll put an annotation right here to show it. But for now, if you want to see a question of yours get answered, send it to that email address. Please understand a couple of things. You're not automatically going to be guaranteed that I'm going to answer your question. And the main reason why I say that is because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to ask the same question over and over and over again. And not only that, but last time I did this, within like 2 weeks, I had over 300 emails that were in that one inbox. And how are you going to get through all of those? So when you send an email to that address, you're basically putting it in a pot. You're saying, hey, I want to see my question get answered. I've gone on to a couple of the live streams or whatever, and I haven't been able to get them to answer me live. And I'm sorry about that if that happens. But so I'm going to take my chances and I'm going to send it in here and see if he answers it. Then it's going to be really cool. I'll take a couple of those for each one of these live streams. I'll read the question, answer the question, and then open up the stream to live Q&A at the end. I think that'll be a lot of fun to do it that way. We can get into a lot of different topics that way. Just make sure you don't destroy my email. I'm not going to send any spam. That's the thing. I'm going to put it right here. Let me do this real quick. I'm going to put it in the chat. Q&A at... hard to type while you're on camera. There we go. There's the email address. I just shared it in the chat. If you're not watching this live, then you didn't see that. But anyway, kgqna@gmail.com. Folks, I will not be manually answering all of these emails. If you have a question that you need to get answered, you're desperate, don't email it to that email address and then sit back and wait like, oh my God, I hope he answers me. Because you might be waiting a long time. I know when I was doing this before, and I was, I see what you did there, Cichlid Guy 915. Is that, yeah, okay, I get it now. That's good. Hillary joke. Okay, we don't get into politics in here because then I'll just get into all kinds of trouble. But there were times where when I was making these videos, I would answer questions that came in like 3-4 months earlier. So don't be in an emergency if you're going to email that email address. Just understand you're kind of putting your email into the pot and maybe it'll get answered in a future live stream. So there you go. Now, next big thing, next big item on the agenda. Again, while we wait for people to file in here, before we get into the big topic of the day, which is controlling ammonia, This is a great, great topic for beginner fish keepers, but also it can be a good topic for the advanced fish keepers, because you never know. You might learn something new. Who knows? Every day that you can learn something new is a beautiful thing. Before we get into that, we'll still let some people file in here. We'll talk about a couple quick things going on with KGTropicals.com. If you're not aware yet, we've added a very special product line to our inventory, and that is Northfin Fish Foods. I'm super excited about this. We've been selling a ton of it already. Lots of people have ordered it already, and that just shows why we brought it in. We brought it in because we knew you wanted it, and so we brought a bunch of it in. It's on the website right now, KGTropicals.com, and until Halloween, until the 31st, if you put Tank Talk in the promo box at checkout, you get a 10% discount. Come on. Not only that, not only are we selling that great food now, we're also still selling the KG Tropical cichlid pellets. Those aren't going anywhere. We've still got the plush plecos. We've still got these shirts. Everything's the same. We've just added this. So not only do we have all these great products on the website now, but also 10% off through Halloween for adding Tank Talk in the promo box. And if you order $59.99 or more, you get free shipping. Come on. I mean, I know I sound like an infomercial, but that is a beautiful, beautiful deal. Celebrate Halloween, celebrate fish keeping, order some stuff, and it'll be wonderful. I see somebody says, shame you don't ship to the UK. I agree. I wish I could. But unfortunately, our postal service just rapes us when it comes to charges to ship overseas. Even one can of food. It's ridiculous. So sorry, I can't do that. But anybody in the US? I got you covered. So there we go. There's that. The last thing that I want to touch on is something we talked about last week, and I'm not going to go on and on and on about it because I spent a lot of time on it last week in last week's live stream, and it's been going on all week. It is the GoFundMe that's been set up for a member of our community that is dealing with a child with leukemia. If you want more details on it, click the link at the very top of the description down below, and you will see what I'm talking about. 6-year-old son, folks, dealing with leukemia. I don't care how old you are. I don't care what country you're in. You can afford to donate $5 to a cause like this. This is one of ours, folks. This isn't just somebody out there. This is a member of our family, a prominent member in the Tank Talk Facebook group, involved throughout YouTube and all of that. This is somebody that is a part of our family, not the Hudson family, but our fish keeping family. So we all need to step up and do something about it. Click that link down below and donate to this family. Wonderful family, wonderful kid. We donated last week. I sent them a small KG Tropicals shirt and one of the plush plecos, and she put the shirt on him and sent me a picture, and it looked like he was wearing a dress. I mean, it was so big on him, but it's the smallest one that we have. But I thought that would be fun to send him that. And he loves the Tank Talk shirt. So there you go. The logo is cool. I guess it would be appealing to 6-year-olds. So anyway, they listen to me when they're traveling back and forth from Montana to Denver to get treatments for him. So and they have to do this all the time, back and forth, back and forth. So imagine how fast the expenses would pile up for something like that. So we can all help out. Don't tell me you can't, because you can. Click the link in the description and help out this family that's definitely in need. If you were in need, you would want the help too. So, all right, let's talk a little bit about ammonia. Now, I'm going to talk about this from a very common sense standpoint. This is how I do things. I don't want to overcomplicate things. I'm not going to use a bunch of scientific terms because I don't feel like we learn that way. There are some people that want over-the-top scientific descriptions of things and all of these fancy words. I'm not one of those people. So if I don't want to hear things that way, I'm not going to deliver things that way to you. So going to keep this very simple, very generic, very easy for anyone to understand. If you're brand new to fish keeping, it'll be very simple. I'm going to do my best to make this simple for you. And if you're an advanced fish keeper, you never know. You might meet some, you might learn something like this too. So what is ammonia? Why is it in an aquarium? What is it? What does it do? Why do we have it? All of these things. Ammonia is the result of rot. That's the easiest way to describe it. It is the result of rotting fish food or fish waste or even a fish carcass. Anything that's in your aquarium that can rot and decay and decompose is going to produce ammonia. Ammonia is toxic to fish, folks, if you haven't figured that out. I've tried for the longest time to come up with the best analogy for ammonia, for ultra high ammonia levels or even slightly high ammonia levels in an aquarium. And the best analogy that I've ever been able to come up with is, imagine yourself in an airtight room with very, very little to no ventilation whatsoever, and that room starts filling up with smoke. Slowly, slowly, slowly filling up with smoke. What's going to end up happening? At first, you're going to be like, ooh, that doesn't feel too good in my chest. But after a while, it's going to start to build up, and you're going to start coughing, and you're going to start feeling like you've got stuff in your lungs, and it's going to become hard to breathe. You're going to end up suffocating in that room full of smoke, right? Well, that is kind of the same scenario when you have ammonia building in your aquarium, making it very difficult for the fish to breathe. They start gasping for air. It's very obvious when this happens, because you can see that it makes it difficult for these fish to breathe. And when this happens, it's not very long before your fish are actually going to end up dropping dead. So just like I said, again, imagine being in a room that's starting to fill up with smoke. That's the easiest way to describe the fish's experience when they're in a tank and it's beginning to rise in ammonia levels. So the breakdown of fish food, the breakdown of fish waste is what's going to cause ammonia. And again, like I said, even a dead fish. I've heard of people who've had a huge ammonia spike and they couldn't figure out what it is. They never changed anything. And all of a sudden the ammonia just spiked up in their tank. They didn't realize they had a dead fish back in the corner that's just sitting there rotting. And you know, the fish wasn't in a place where the other fish could eat it, because if you've got an African cichlid tank, you know that they will. But I've seen this happen before. I've heard of this happening before. They get the fish out, the problem goes away, and everything's good. Problem goes away with a little bit more work, but again, we'll get to that in a little bit. So thankfully, when it comes to ammonia, there is Mother Nature. There is Mother Nature that can help us as fish keepers with this problem. Mother Nature creates this beautiful thing that we like in our aquarium that is called beneficial bacteria. This bacteria in your aquarium, its sole purpose is to break down toxic ammonia, which is killing your fish, break it down and convert it into nitrite and nitrate. Nitrite is equally as bad for fish as ammonia is, but if your bacteria is established enough and healthy enough, it's going to convert it not only to nitrite, but then also to nitrate, which is significantly less toxic than ammonia, but it's still bad. And again, we'll talk about that in a minute. So Mother Nature gives us this beautiful thing that converts ammonia to nitrate, ultimately to nitrate, and saves our fish. But where does this bacteria come from? How does it happen? What is all of this? It doesn't make sense. Well, beneficial bacteria is what is built up in your aquarium during the cycling process. If you've got a brand new aquarium and you heard somebody in the pet store say, oh, you got to cycle your tank before you can put fish in there. Why are they saying that? They're saying that because a brand new tank with brand new filters and brand new everything does not have this beneficial bacteria. Yes, you can buy it in a bottle, but is that fail-safe? No, it's absolutely not. Does it help? Sure, of course it does. But it doesn't instantaneously fix or start or complete the cycle in your aquarium. I don't care what the bottle says, and I don't care what the sales rep says. It doesn't, okay? But when you start off with everything brand new, you don't have this beneficial bacteria. You don't have anything in the aquarium that's going to break down that waste and break down the fish food. So when you put your fish in there brand new, everything's new, and you buy fish the first day you set your tank up, your fish are in there, they're eating, they're pooping more than likely. They're eating and pooping a lot because you're a brand new fish keeper and you love to see them eat. And so you're constantly throwing food in there because they always look hungry. So they're constantly pooping, which is creating this ammonia, and there's nothing in the tank to break that ammonia down because the cycle has not happened yet. So you're basically, this is why everybody tells you not to put fish in right away, because you're basically putting them in there for an automatic death sentence. Now, are there ways around it? Yes, but we're not going to get into that because we're not talking about cycling. We're talking about ammonia, what it is, what it does, all that kind of stuff. So I totally went so far off track. I need to Yeah, I got there. I've got a little outline here so that I make sure that I cover everything. Okay. So you get a brand new tank and you cycle it. Again, I've done 3 videos on cycling aquariums. Maybe that'll be the topic for a future live stream, but you need to cycle your aquarium, which is establish that beneficial bacteria so that it can keep control of ammonia and nitrite, converting it to nitrate. But can this happen? Like if you cycle your tank, you follow all of the rules, you pour the bottle of stuff in there, or maybe you're one of those people, and I'm not against this, but you pour straight ammonia in the tank to boost the cycle and get things going, and your tank is fully cycled. You know it is. You've done all the API tests, and you know that your tank is fully cycled. Are you ever going to have a problem with ammonia again? Yes, you absolutely will, or you absolutely can. Maybe not will. If you're good enough, maybe you won't, but you absolutely can. And that is kind of what this video is about, or this live stream is about. I want to talk about ammonia from the time that your tank is cycled until, well, forever, as long as you're a fish keeper. And again, that's why I'm not really talking about how to cycle a tank and all that. Again, I've got 3 videos on that. So you're already on my channel. Click the KGTropicals down below and find the video on cycling a tank. And it's easy. I've done it 3 different times. So your tank is cycled. Okay. You followed all the rules. What can happen that can cause a huge ammonia problem? Everything's running smoothly. Everything's great. Your fish are happy. They're healthy. They're eating and everything's just wonderful. Life is good. But then all of a sudden you have this huge ammonia spike. What could cause that? Why would it do it? Well, the easiest answer for that is something has happened in that tank that has either removed beneficial bacteria from the tank, which makes the total amount of beneficial bacteria too low to combat the uneaten food and the fish waste, or something's been added to the tank that is contributing to the additional waste that needs to be broken down by this beneficial bacteria. So what am I talking about here? First thing is, I'm going to reverse them. The first thing is adding things to the tank. Your tank is going to balance out. The bio load on your tank is going to balance out where there's enough bacteria in the tank to control what's in there. The fish that you have in, maybe you have some invertebrates or whatever it is that you're keeping, some snails, and everything's copacetic. If you alter that by adding a huge group of fish, maybe you have a fish with, or a tank with 12 fish in it, and you add 12 more, well, guess what? The tank has balanced out to those original 12, but when you add 12 more, what are you going to be doing? You're going to be feeding 12 more fish, and you're going to have 12 more poop producers. So all of a sudden, the bacteria is like, oh, wait a minute, we've got all this new load on us. We can't keep control of all of this. It loses control. Ammonia spikes. That is an absolute deadly way to cause an ammonia spike. It can happen all the time. This is why a lot of people will tell you to go easy when you're adding new fish. Now, this is particularly a problem when tanks are brand new. If you have a tank, let's say you set up a 55-gallon tank and you go through all the procedures, you follow all the rules, and you get this tank to where you believe it's perfectly cycled. Well, it's cycled to handle the load that's in that tank right now, which is nothing. And so you throw 24 fish in there all at one time, guess what? That bacteria is not built up to a point where it can combat that. I'm swinging my hands around all over the place today because I get animated when I talk about something like this. So you're basically, I don't even know what that number would be, quadrupling or whatever. Never mind. You're throwing 12 fish into a tank that was established with no fish. So a brand new tank is very vulnerable to something like this because the load is only established to what's in there. So I always tell people, when you have a brand new tank, go easy adding the fish. Add them in smaller groups. Smaller fish, you can get away with a few more maybe, but add them in smaller groups. This way, you put a few fish in there and you allow the beneficial bacteria to catch up to the load that's in the tank, and then you add a few more, maybe a few weeks later or whatever, the whole time monitoring, things like ammonia and nitrite while the tank is establishing itself to catch up to those fish that are in there. So if you add a huge load to the tank, you can cause a huge ammonia spike. But I also said, What about taking things out? Taking things out of the tank, how can that cause an ammonia spike? That doesn't make sense. Well, it makes perfect sense when you consider beneficial bacteria establishes itself on surfaces. It's not in the water. Okay, we're gonna take that myth away in a little bit. If I don't, make sure you remind me, because it's not something I have in my notes, but we'll talk about that later. The beneficial bacteria is not in your water. It's on surfaces. It's on the glass. It's on your gravel or your sand, whatever it is. It's on your decorations. It's in your filter. The filter is a great place for the growth of this beneficial bacteria. And by the way, you can't see this bacteria, so don't go looking for it. It's bacteria. It's microscopic. You can't see it, but it grows on everything that's in the tank. So you have people sometimes will remove, they do a complete redecorate of their tank, and they take everything out and leave it just bare, nothing in the tank, or leave it barren like this. This doesn't have a lot of decorations in it. If you take all that stuff out, you're removing bacteria from the tank. Or they remove the filter cartridges. Maybe you're somebody that's brand new to fish keeping, or maybe you've been keeping fish for a long time and you have hang on the back filters that have the replaceable cartridges. Well, those sponges that are in there and the filter itself are great places to establish this beneficial bacteria. So if you have a filter like a Penguin 350 or Emperor or any of those that has the 2 cartridges, you take both of those cartridges out at the same time and put 2 brand new ones in, guess what? You just removed all of that beneficial bacteria. Now, is it automatically going to cause a problem? Not necessarily. But if your bacteria is right on that razor's edge of being able to control the load that's in the tank, and you remove all of that, you're basically taking away the thing that's keeping your tank alive. So taking things out of the tank, folks, don't freak out. If you have a rock in the tank that you want to take the rock out. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but if you remove a bunch of stuff and you remove your sponges and you do all of these things, you can actually remove so much of this bacteria that it's going to cause more problems than you think. It's sometimes more deadly than adding to the tank. I hope I'm making sense. So, I made the mistake of looking at my outline, and so now I'm completely mixed up. But these are the main things that can cause these types of problems. You're adding to the tank or you're removing from the tank. But there's a few common sense things that can also contribute to ammonia problems. I'm not going to necessarily say ammonia spikes, because to me, a spike is it just shoots straight up and goes to deadly levels almost instantly. That is what I would consider a spike. And that's the kind of scenario where you go to bed, everything's fine, you wake up the next morning, your fish are all dead. That's not necessarily the only thing that's going to kill your fish or be harmful to your fish. It could be the gentle or gradual rise of ammonia that eventually will kill them off. What are some things that can cause that? First thing is overfeeding, especially for new fish keepers and particularly for young fish keepers. New young fish keepers, oh boy, this could be absolutely deadly, because young people are overzealous. They want to do everything right. When they get into something, they get into it hardcore and they go all in. How many young people have you seen on YouTube that do this? It's awesome. They just go all in and they go like gangbusters. This can be the biggest problem sometimes, because first of all, they put fish in the tank too early. And second of all, every single time they walk up to the tank, the fish get excited and they go crazy. And so they think, well, they're hungry, and they feed them every single time, particularly super young people that mom and dad aren't watching very closely, constantly throwing food into the tank. There's no better way to kill your fish than to do something like that, because you're throwing food in, the fish aren't going to eat it. It's going to sink down to the bottom, or it's going to get sucked up into your filter, and it's just going to sit there and rot. And when that happens, you're contributing to this problem, and eventually your bioload or your beneficial bacteria is not going to be able to keep up with that, because it's just too much, and it's going to crash, and the whole tank is going to burn. Crash and burn, absolutely. Like I said earlier, adding too large of a group of fish can certainly contribute to this also, because again, you're doubling, tripling, whatever, the load on the tank. Your tank has established itself and balanced off, and then you're adding a bunch more to it, just killing your bioload on the tank. So adding new fish, feeding too much, taking away, but also something that's very common in the African cichlid world is overpopulating your tank. Your tank has so many inhabitants in it, which is cool because we like a lot of fish in our tank. You have 65 fish in a 55-gallon tank. All of a sudden, there's no way that your tank can keep up with that. The beneficial bacteria can't keep up with that. And so you've got too many poopers in there, too much food going in there, and it's just a recipe for disaster. Too many fish, taking things out, putting things in, putting new fish in. And then the biggest thing, well, overfeeding is probably the biggest cause of ammonia spikes. But another thing, and this was one of the most common things that happened when we had our store, people would come in, and this was a scenario that happened over and over and over again. John, I don't know what happened, but I've been doing a really good job keeping up with my tank. I mean, I keep my tank clean, and every time I test it, it's perfect. And all of a sudden, just all of my fish, they started going to the top of the tank, and they were gasping for air, and then they just all started dying off. What did I do wrong? Well, that's when the investigation starts. And I start saying, okay, well, how much are you feeding your fish? Oh, we feed them once a day in the mornings. You know, it's a pinch. We watch them eat. They eat it all within a few minutes. It's no big deal. It's not the food. They always tell me what it's not, but yet they're asking me for help. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's not a food issue. So have you taken anything out of the tank recently? Well, no. I mean, just the filter cartridges and routine maintenance stuff and all of that. Okay, fine. So tell me about your maintenance schedule. Tell me about what you're doing. Well, usually, I mean, I'll refill the tank when the water evaporates. And, so that's usually I'm putting, 5-6 gallons a week in the tank. That might be extreme, but you know what I'm saying. I'm just putting in some water when the water evaporates because the filter just starts making these ungodly noises. And then, once a month or so, I will do a water change. Okay, how are you doing your water change? My tank is right. I heard this, folks. I heard this story more than once. My tank is right next to my kitchen, so I have this pitcher, and I use this pitcher exclusively for fish keeping. So I know there's nothing wrong with it, and I take the pitcher and I dip it in and I dump it in the sink, and I do that 3 or 4 times, and then I fill it up and I put new water in the tank. I mean, I'm doing everything that you told me to do. I'm doing everything that all of the books tell me to do, and I don't understand. Okay, what was the last maintenance that you did? Well, when this whole thing happened, when the fish started acting a little funny, I panicked a little bit and I just went all in. I cleaned everything thoroughly because I wanted to make sure that there was nothing in the tank that was, like some type of poison or something like that in the tank. So I put all the fish in a bucket and I took all the water out and I scrubbed all of the decorations and I started with brand new filter cartridges. You understand where I'm going with this, folks? This person did what he believed or she believed to be the right thing and ended up killing their fish because this person wasn't aware of the cycling process. It wasn't aware of the beneficial bacteria. And when he found this problem, just panicked. And a lot of people that are new to fish keeping believe that just clean everything. If there's a problem in the tank, just clean everything. And they're not realizing that that is the worst thing that you can possibly do for your aquarium. So this is, to me, one of the biggest causes of ammonia spikes is people cleaning their tank too good. And what I mean by that is there's extreme cases like that, but also I know people to this day, even though I've told them hundreds of times not to do it, they'll routinely take all their decorations out, scrub them, clean them off really good, put them back in the tank, change out all of their filters, the filter media, and do it all at the same time. And just because that's what they've been doing all along, and they can't understand why they can't stop having problems in their tank. It's like, whoo, I don't understand why you won't just listen to me. But this happens all the time. People clean their tank too good. We want this bacteria in the tank. This is the good bacteria. That's why it's called beneficial bacteria. It's not some type of poisonous entity in the tank that's going to kill off all of your fish. People hear the word bacteria, they instantly think bad, but no, this is the good kind. And over cleaning your tank can certainly do that. So those are the biggest causes that I've seen. Just run through them again: overfeeding, overstocking, taking things out, putting things in that add to the load of the tank and your aquarium can't keep up with it. Beneficial bacteria can't keep up with it. And over cleaning. These are big examples of things that your average fish keepers, your new fish keepers, some experienced fish keepers can do that can actually cause these huge ammonia problems. There's no bigger killer than ammonia in the aquarium. You've heard people, probably the day you bought your tank, you heard somebody tell you the biggest cause of fish death is overfeeding. Well, it's not the overfeeding, it's the ammonia that's caused from overfeeding that kills your fish. So yes, it is the biggest killer of fish in this hobby. I don't know. I mean, I think it is. I don't have scientific data to back that up, but I've been told that for 23 years. So yeah, it's the biggest killer of any kind of fish. I don't care what it is that you're keeping. Bacteria cannot keep control of the ammonia and the nitrite in your aquarium. So how do we prevent this? Wow, I've been going nonstop here. We having any problems? Connection is acting up badly. It's not acting up with me. I'm watching it. I've got the screen up right now, and I don't see any problems. I mean, you know, different internet connections, depending on where you are and all of that, that's going to impact that. Let's see. Too much headroom, tilt down a bit. What do you mean too much headroom? What does that mean? Okay, anyway. And everybody's saying connection is good. Good. Let me have a vape here real quick. People are going to yell at me, and guess what? I don't care. Okay, so doesn't look like, okay, so everything's under control, so that's good. So let's get into how to prevent it, how to prevent ammonia problems, and then we'll talk about what to do if you have an ammonia problem. To prevent an ammonia problem, you basically do the reverse of everything that I just said. You keep in mind the things that are going to cause an ammonia spike. Everything I just said. Over cleaning the tank. Don't over clean your tank. Talk to an experienced fish keeper. You know, I saw this weird bald guy and he, on YouTube, and he said, don't over clean the tank. But I don't know what that means. Talk to somebody that can say, you know, if I was cleaning your tank, this is how I would do it. Or go to your fish store and tell them, this is what I have. This is the filter that I have. This is how many fish that I have in it. How should I maintain my tank? What would a proper maintenance schedule be? If you're somebody that's brand new to this and you don't know, then, or if you're somebody that's experienced and you've just been experiencing nothing but ammonia problems, you can also go in and ask that, what would a good maintenance schedule be as far as, you know, my decorations, they get algae on them and stuff like that. What should I do to clean those off? How often should I replace filter cartridges? Get a good idea of the proper way to maintain your tank. If you want me to give you the generic answer to that, water changes, vacuuming out your gravel. Why do you vacuum out the gravel? Because there's leftover food down there, and that's where waste, poop, okay? That's where this stuff gathers, is down in the gravel, underneath rocks, things like that. Yes, I said underneath rocks. Move a rock in your aquarium and watch how much poop floats up from there. It's terrible. Getting all of that out is what's going to absolutely help. The more you leave in there, the more opportunity there is for there to be too much of a load on the tank. So getting on a good maintenance schedule is going to be one of the best things. If you're going to add fish to your tank, only add a few at a time. If you have a 240-gallon tank with about 270 gallons total with the filter, I can add more than somebody that has a 20-gallon tank, okay? So understand your situation, but if you're going to add fish, do it moderately, not moderately. What should I say? Do it have some patience when it comes to adding your fish. Don't throw 24 fish in all at one time. Your tank can't keep up with that. So just don't. Just add them in moderation. I guess that's what I should have said. For God's sakes, folks, rule number one when it comes to fish keeping, don't overfeed your fish. I know they always look hungry. I know they run to the tank and their mouths are going, and they just look so cute and they're so hungry and they're begging you for food. Don't fall for that. If you fed your dog every time your dog jumped up because he was excited to see you, your dog would be 400 pounds. You don't do that, right? Because you know you feed your dog on a schedule. You feed your dog what the vet told you to feed him. Well, that's how you should be doing this with the fish too. putting enough food in there to where they can eat everything within just a couple of minutes and everything's great. There's no food that's settling down to the bottom. If it settles down to the bottom and the fish are still picking at it and cleaning it all up, that's fine, but you don't want a bunch of food floating around the tank after your fish are already full. So don't overfeed the tank. Everything should be consumed within just a few minutes. I would rather you feed half of what you're thinking your fish need than feeding too much and having food left over all around the tank. And this is something that kids do all the time. They put way too much food in the tank because the fishies are hungry. Fishies are hungry. This can be an absolute killer. So don't overfeed your fish. Don't over clean your tank. Don't add a huge load to the tank, which your tank can't keep up with. These are the easiest ways to prevent ammonia problems. And this is stupid, but I mean, I have it in my outline, so I'm going to say it. I'm like Ron Burgundy. If it's there, I'm going to read it. Go F yourself, San Diego. No, you get it. You've seen the movie. So make sure there's no dead fish in your tank. I know that sounds ridiculous, but again, I've had more than one person come to me and say, I had this problem. It was going on forever. I lost control of the tank and fish were just dying off and I couldn't figure out what it was. And I finally found it. My blankety blank was behind a rock, wedged in the corner, dead, and had been there for a long time. And it was disgusting. And make sure there's no dead fish in your tank. Make sure there's no places in your tank where there can be a dead fish and you not know it. Keep an eye on your tank. Monitor your tank. You're going to do this anyway, right? I mean, come on. But you keep an eye on your tank. You know what you have. It can get difficult when you have that many fish, but you know what's going on. And you're looking in your tank and you're like, wait a minute, where's that one? I don't remember. I don't remember seeing my German red today. Where is he? Well, you better start looking because maybe he's just hiding behind a rock or he might be in there dead. And if he's in there dead, could cause problems. One dead German ram in that tank probably wouldn't kill the whole tank, but in a 20-gallon, it could absolutely wreak havoc on the tank. So make sure that you don't have any dead fish in the tank. What else more needs to be said? And just keep control of your stocking levels. I swear to God, I've been doing this since 2011, or 2012 is when I started making videos. And let me tell you something. I don't think there's a single question that's ever been asked to me more than how many fish can I put in my tank? I mean, oh my God, I'm so sick of being asked that question. It makes me crazy when I get asked that question. And the answer is, I don't know. I don't know the exact number you can put in your tank. I have my formulas that I use, and it's worked out well for me. I've shared them in more than one video that you can certainly go watch on my channel right now. And there's probably 150 videos on YouTube from different fish keepers from all over the world that have talked about how many fish they believe you can put in the tank. So watch all of these, formulate your opinion, and then still don't put as many in as they said you could. Because once again, the more you put in there, the more risk you're taking that there could be a problem. This is a very common problem in the African cichlid world because everybody tells you, well, you have to put a lot of fish in there to curb aggression. And that's true. But you never really know what that line is until you start having a problem. So just keep control over your stocking. Don't go overboard. Don't put twice as many fish in your tank than your tank can handle. And again, I know that's generic. I can't give you exact numbers because I don't know you and I don't know how many fish you have. So there you go. What about you're a guy that's been keeping fish for a few months now and all of a sudden you have run into some ammonia problems. Your ammonia spiked. Your fish are all up at the top. They're gasping for air. The number one sign that you have a problem is one, fish are up there gasping for air, you know, trying to breathe the air because the water is so toxic they can barely breathe, or your fish start dying off. If one of those things are happening, you probably have an ammonia problem in your tank, and shame on you for not catching it earlier, but it can happen to the best of us, and it can happen very, very fast. What do you do if you run into one of these problems? The first thing that I tell everybody, I mean, I can't tell you how many people I've counseled through something like this. The first thing I say is, calm down. Don't panic. If this problem is as bad as you say it is, you're probably going to lose some fish. And guess what? No matter what you do, you would have probably lost them anyway. So just calm down. Don't panic. let's think about this and let's do things right, because when you panic, that's when you can make some of the biggest mistakes. Like I said before, I was so anxious to get the tank cleaned out. I took it out into my driveway and I tilted it up on its side and I squirted it out with the garden hose and I scrubbed it really, really good. I mean, this is what people do when they panic, folks. If you panic, you can panic yourself into a worse situation than the one that you started. So take a deep breath, calm down, and do what is common sense. Now you know, because we talked about it here in this video, you know what causes the ammonia. So you should know what to do to solve it. You know the things that are in there that could be causing it. I've been feeding them way too much. I've got way too many fish in the tank. I cleaned the tank too well. Well, what you need to do is when you realize that, when you take that deep breath and you slow down and you think about what it is that's probably causing your ammonia spike, you can pretty much come up with on your own what you need to do to take care of it. Well, I haven't done a water change in 7 months and my gravel is all brown, and every time one of my fish hits the bottom of the tank, it's like an explosion of nasty stuff, and my tank is really dirty. Well, common sense would tell you what it is you need to do to resolve that problem. But again, don't panic. Don't go too far with it. You need to, first of all, the first thing I tell people to do is put Prime in the tank. Now, I'm a Prime user. There's a lot of water conditioners out there that are great. I use Prime and Stress Coat. Those are my two favorites. But whatever water conditioner you're using, most likely, read the label, but most likely it's also going to detoxify ammonia. For some reason, I think Prime is the best. I've had the least amount of problems while using Prime. So I love Prime. So putting Prime in the tank is something that can help you get through this process. Now, I have to stress this because I talked about this with somebody one time, the exact same way I'm talking to you. And they said, well, I put Prime in the tank, but the problem, the fish kept on dying off. I'm like, well, what else did you do? Well, nothing. I had an ammonia spike. I did my test on the API and it was dark green and I knew that the ammonia was really high. And so I put Prime in the tank. That fixes it, right? No, folks. Prime does not fix the problem. What Prime does is puts a little gas mask on your fish and helps them. Doesn't guarantee your fish are going to survive this, but it can help them get through this agony that they're in right now because their gills are burning, their lungs are burning because of all of this smoke that's in the tank. So putting Prime in is just one of those things that can help you to take that deep breath and feel a little bit more confident, maybe feel not as pressured to just completely panic and go overboard when it comes to solving this in the tank. So Prime, first thing. Next thing is a big water change. Now, if you're doing a gigantic water change, you got a 55-gallon tank and you're going to do 40 gallons of a water change. That's huge. I would definitely, if you were doing that, I would take measures to make sure that the water that you're putting in is the same temperature as the water that's in the tank. If you're doing a 20% water change with cold water, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Yes, the temperature is going to dip a little bit throughout the tank, but it's not going to be so bad that you're going to kill all your fish. But if you change out 70% of the water, there's a good chance it could put your fish into shock and actually make the problem worse if you're doing that big of a water change. So just based on temperature, it could absolutely do that. So having somewhere to store the water or whatever, I don't know. I'm just saying if you have the ability to regulate the temperature of the water that you're putting into the tank, if you're going to do a water change that big. Now, I have done hundreds, if not thousands, of water changes, 50% water changes with cold water and had no problems. I've never had the catastrophic problems when you do water. I just lied to you. I looked at you in the camera and I just told a bold-faced lie. I did have one problem one time with one tank, and I'm not even going to talk about it right now because it has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I did have a tank crash during a water change. It's a long story, but it was one of 29 tanks that I was doing water changes in all at one time, and it was right in the middle, which was weird. But if you're filling with a hose or from a maybe you're using a Python or one of those Aquarium systems or something like that. If you can run the water, put the thermometer in the water and check the temperature to make sure that the water that you're putting in is close to temperature, if not exact in temperature to what your tank has, you can do a gigantic water change and you shouldn't have any problems. But what about the rest of the tank? The way I look at it is doing a big water change doesn't fix the problem. It just gives you more time, because you're basically cleaning the water that's in there that's full of ammonia, which is burning your fish up. You're giving them fresh water, which relieves them and saves them, but the room's going to start filling up with smoke again if you don't solve that problem. Again, you're putting prime in there, you're doing a big water change, you're preventing the fish's death. It's not a guarantee, but you're helping your fish to survive through this process, but you're not solving the problem yet. All you're doing is helping your fish to get through this. So to solve the problem, first thing is diagnose what it is that caused it. Have you fallen behind on your maintenance schedule? Have you had several fish die in the tank? Have you not changed your filter out in 7 or 8 months? Whatever it is, address that issue. And do not overclean your tank when you do this. What I usually do, if I have a problem, if I have a major problem in a tank, you saw how far I went with this. If you don't know how far I went with this tank, just go back about a month and a half, 2 months on this channel, and you'll see what I did with this tank. That was extreme. I mean, that was me basically giving up and starting over. You don't necessarily have to do that if you have an ammonia spike. What you need to do is remove the load from the tank that is causing the problem. Is that load a bunch of uneaten food? Is it a bunch of poop sitting on the bottom of the tank and underneath all of the rocks, or clogging up your filter sponges? Is it a dead fish or multiple dead fish? Figure out the cause of the problem. You know what causes it, so get those problems out. But again, don't go overboard. If you're going to do a gravel vacuum out the gravel with your Python or your siphon hose or whatever it is that you use. Vacuum it out, get all of that poop out of there. Do not take your gravel out of the tank and scrub it down or hose it down with your hose. Folks, something I should have talked about earlier is city water. If you're on city water, if you pay a water bill, you have water that's provided to you by your city or your municipality, wherever it is that you live. If your city is providing you with water, that water has to be healthy for consumption and for using to cook and bathe and all of that. So to do that, they have to disinfect the water, and they do that with chlorine or chloramine. Disinfect the water. They have to kill bacteria that is in the water before they deliver it to your house. So what does that mean? That means your water that's coming out of your faucet has a chemical in it, usually chlorine, but a lot of these facilities are switching to chloramine. They both do the same thing. There's a disinfectant in the water. And so when you put it in the tank, what's it going to do? It's going to kill the beneficial bacteria that's in the tank that we love so much and that we need to keep our ammonia under control. So if you're going to do that big, huge water change, for God's sakes, make sure you use a dechlorinator to get that out of there so that you don't kill off all of this bacteria, because this could be the problem too. It could be somebody is doing water changes and not using dechlorinator. Yes, it's true. Chlorine and some things in the water can hurt your fish, but it's not the biggest threat from city water. The biggest threat from city water is the fact that it has bleach in it. And bleach is going to kill the bacteria. It's going to do its job in the tank, completely crashing your tank. This is why we use water conditioners. I know I'm all over the place here, but I get very excited when I talk about these things. So do things the safe way. Use common sense. Calm down. Don't panic over something like this. Do a large water change. Vacuum that gravel out. Get all of that poop off of there or out of there. And then once you get everything stabilized, then you need to take a long look in the mirror and you need to say, okay, why did this happen? If you don't know already, if you haven't figured it out already and used the knowledge that you have to solve this problem, if you don't know yet, you need to sit down and you need to figure it out, because more than likely it's going to continue happening because you're doing something wrong. Now, can an ammonia spike happen for somebody that's doing everything right? Sure, it absolutely can. You never really know with these things, but it shouldn't. if you're doing your job, if you're doing things right, if you're doing, I shouldn't say by the book because I never follow the book, but if you're doing things the way you've been taught by YouTubers and people at the fish store, you shouldn't have these problems. You should be able to keep things under control. So, whew, that's everything. I didn't even really have a good way of just shutting it down and saying, that's all, there we go. I mean, all of a sudden it's just like, that's it. I'm done talking about it. I don't have any more to talk about with ammonia. But folks, again, this is the biggest killer of fish. Yes, everybody says in the first line of every rule book is overfeeding is the #1 killer of fish. Well, that's what contributes to ammonia. So ammonia is a huge fish killer. Use common sense. Don't be lazy. Follow these common sense rules that I've talked about here today, and you shouldn't have any problems. And hopefully, if you do have problems, you know how to solve them. The first thing I should have said before we even started talking was, if you don't have a test kit, you're not a fish keeper, period. Because your fish might be gasping for air at the top of the tank, and you're like, oh my God, what's wrong? You have no way of knowing if you don't have a test kit. I don't care if it's the dipsticks. I don't care if it's the API. I don't care what tank or what test kit it is. You need to have a test kit because you need to know what's going on in your tank. So that should be the first thing that you do. And I hope that helps. I hope you never have a problem with ammonia. I hope it's never an issue for you, because I've had it and it sucks. Trust me. So there you go. I don't really know. I'm exhausted now. I don't really know what more to say about it. So there you go. That's it. That's my talk on ammonia. That was fun. 52 minutes I ran my mouth about ammonia. That's nuts. I mean, okay, I talked for a little bit before getting started on that, but there we go. So let's open it up to you guys. You all can, I'm not trying to be a jerk here, but you can keep putting in the chat. It's blurry, and there's nothing I can do about it. I mean, I'm sorry that it is that way, but if you're going to say, oh, it keeps jumping, it keeps flashing, it's blurry, there's nothing I can do. So I'm sorry. You're wasting your time, and I don't like to see anybody waste time. Yes, I did ship your order, William Feltner. Of course I did, because I always handle things right away. Most expensive fish you lost? A Motoro Stingray. $200 I paid for that sumbitch. Hey, John, what's up, long time buddy? Mike Angel is back. Haven't seen him in a while. All right, let me get this out of the way here real quick, and then let's see if we can get some questions. Okay, I don't want to be looking so far away from you. Ammonia with sand substrate. It can certainly happen. Yes, you're most likely not going to have the fish waste underneath your sand, because it's too big to get down through the grains. But you can absolutely, I mean, sand is not a fail-safe for ammonia. Trust me on that. I got to take my sleeping pills, because once I'm done talking to y'all, I'm out. I'm going to bed. Paul Martin brings up a really good point. Dumping the water that comes with your store-bought fish can also increase the ammonia levels in your tank. It absolutely can. And the reason why, it's not as big a problem if you buy a fish from the pet store right down the road from you, and it's been in the bag for 20 minutes. It probably shouldn't set off any alarms. But particularly when you're ordering fish online and having them shipped to you, or if you buy a fish and you went to the fish store 6 hours away and you drive home and they've been in there for a long time, your fish have been in there producing waste the entire time they've been in the bag. And so the ammonia levels have been elevating in that water, and then you dump it in the tank, you're causing an absolute problem. So very, very good point there, Paul Martin. Yes, Coke with sleeping pills. Is there any other way of doing it? I can't help it. I'm a Coke head. I'm admitting it right now to the world. Actually, no, to only 154 people. I'm admitting it to the world. I'm a Coke head. I am. Hey, John, do you use aquarium salt in your regular tank maintenance with your cichlids? If not, why not? I don't, because I don't need it, because my water comes out of the tank really, really nice for African cichlids. So I don't need to. I mean, it comes out the way I want it to. Hey, John, you shipped my order too by chance. Tony Romo, yes. Yes, I even wrote you a note about your name sounding like Tony Romo. He acts dead in the morning. Who? Who does? Me? Are you around me in the mornings? Because I'm not good in the mornings. 5 tangs, 1 pleco, and 180 gallon, too much. 5 tangs? Tangs? Like, are you playing a joke on me? Or are you trying to say Tanganikans? I don't know what you're trying to say there, Michelle Fitzsimmons. 5 tangs. Tangs are saltwater fish, and I would be nervous if there was a pleco in with them. John, is there meds you can give a fish that has been beaten up? Yes, I use Melifix. I use Melifix and aquarium salt is what I like to use if a fish has been beaten up. It's kind of like Neosporin. That's the way I look at it. Catching you live in first class on a plane? How about that? Wow, first class. I've only walked past first class. I've never sat in first class, so good for you. Keep it fishy, people. Respect KGTropicals. Absolutely. Thank you. Respect right back at you. Which cichlid? Can I premix Seachem safe and use it? Of course you can. Absolutely. You save money that way. I've never used it, but I know that that's what it is. I have a goldfish and it's turning black. Oh no. There is a specific reasoning for that, but I don't remember what it is because I'm not a goldfish person. I love them, but I'm not fluent in them. For those of us on tap water, should I use it in my regular maintenance? Well, I'm on tap water too, Dusty. It just happens that my water it comes out of the tap almost perfect for African cichlids. So when you say tap water, it's all going to here's the best way to describe it, Dusty. No two people's water supplies are the same. I live in King George, Virginia, in a neighborhood called Presidential Lakes. We have our own water treatment facility just for my neighborhood. Who knows where you live? You might be in a city that has 3 million people living in it, and you've got one gigantic system. Who knows what water supply you have. So the answer to your question is you're going to need to use the salt in your routine maintenance if you need to use the salt in your routine maintenance. If you need to buffer your water, if you need to harden it up, bring up the pH, then you would certainly need to use it. But if your water's coming out of the tap and it's good for Africans, then you should be good. You shouldn't need to. That's where I'm at right now. So got my KGTropicals order in. Thanks, John. I've been installing my Aqua Decor 3D background while listening to you. That's cool. Have fun with that. That's always a good time. I have 2 red belly pacu, 3 tinfoil barbs, and common pleco. Nice. Pacus get huge. Video buffering. Again, sorry. Nothing I can do about that. I can hear him. Sound is good here. All right, good. I don't know what everybody's saying. Will adding aquaponics allow for a higher carrying capacity in an aquarium? It could. It could. But I mean, plants don't necessarily fight ammonia. They feed off of nitrates. So I don't know. I'm not a hippie. I'm not an aquaponics person. I love the idea. I love the concept, but I've never done anything like that. How do I lower my pH? How do I lower my pH before I put it in the tank? I have soft water that is 8.5 out of the tap. Sounds weird. Puts that how it is. Needs some. I mean, the absolute best way is an RO system. I mean, I know you don't want to hear that because it costs money, but that's going to be the best way of doing it for sure. I have no experience with salt and tropical storm. I know Corey does. Okay. My connection is dying. Sorry about that. Johnny Bryan works for Pepsi. daggone it, you should be working for Coke. Then you could send me some so we wouldn't continue going broke, going through all the Coke I go through. John, my fish loved your pellets. To take my hand away from the microphone. Yes, they did love the pellets. I am so glad. I'm so glad that they did. My fish love them too. Has anyone bought a custom aquarium set up off you yet? Isn't it a shame for me to say this, but no. And you know what? I'm not going to panic over it yet, William. There's been a ton of people that have inquired about them and gotten quotes and stuff like that. But this has not been like when we got the tank and got it set up and started talking about it and stuff like that. It was right when the industry dies every single year. Throughout the summer, the aquarium industry dies. People are basically buying routine maintenance stuff, fish food, filter cartridges, carbon, Purigen, things like that for maintaining their tanks, but they're not necessarily adding a bunch of stuff. But right about now is when things start to change. So hopefully, if you're watching this, if you don't know already, I sell these tanks, but not just this size, any size you want. If you're interested in a custom tank like that, email me, kgtropicals@gmail.com. We'll talk about it. And no, they're not cheap. I mean, I'm not trying to beat around the bush here. They're not cheap, but you know, you want a good quality, super custom tank, then you're going to get what you pay for. And here's the thing, because what I've had a lot of people say is, well, would they be cheaper than the tanked guys? Well, guess what? The tanked guys are selling custom aquariums tanks now. So you don't have to go any further than, wasn't it Lou 9294 that just did a tour of the facility? And you see custom aquariums all over the place in their facility. So I think, I could be wrong, but I think that Custom Aquariums is doing all of their glass tanks, and then ATM handles the acrylic stuff. That's what I think, but I don't know for sure. All right, John, how well do the API proper pH products work? I don't use them. So I can't really give you any any advice on that one. Sorry. Hi, John. Sorry, it's off topic of ammonia. Is it normal for a female Mbuna to get a bit of sunken belly while holding? Yes, it is normal. And you don't need to apologize, because at this point, we're kind of wide open. We'll go for a few more minutes here. We're going, you can ask any questions you want. But yes, it is, because I don't care what anybody tells you. These fish do not eat while they're holding. Use common sense. I mean, yes, you might see that occasional mama, I like to call them mamas, holding female will get a pellet in her mouth. And sometimes it happens, but more than likely your fish is not eating throughout the entire time that she's holding that brood. So it's very, very common. If it gets too bad where the fish, it looks like it's just going to completely die from starvation, it might be time to strip the eggs and feed them. How do you deal with diatoms? I deal with them with a lot of four-letter words and a lot of hair pulled out of my head. Why do you think I'm bald? Diatoms is a huge problem, and it's a huge nuisance. I mean, it's just horrible. The way I deal with any type of algae is determine the source of that algae. I had some algae issues with my planted tank at first, and I was like, I don't know what to do, and consulted Corey on it, because it was like, I don't know if my normal things that I would do will hurt the plants. But look at where the algae is coming from. Is your tank sitting directly next to a window or next to a sliding glass door where all of this sunlight is coming in? Are you leaving the tank lights on too much? Are you not keeping up with your maintenance? Are you overfeeding? Are you feeding the algae? All of these different things. Consider the source of the algae and then work it backwards. You understand what I'm saying? Don't leave your light on as much. Cover the window for, you know, most of the day, whatever it is, so that you can stop fueling that algae growth. And then, I mean, with diatoms, unfortunately, just use a sponge and clean it off. It's a huge pain in the butt, but it works. And when all else fails, common plecos are soldiers when it comes to devouring diatom algae. They absolutely love it. They're usually not going to eat it off of the glass. But let me tell you something. If your rocks are completely covered, you have rocks in your tank like I do here, and they're completely covered with diatom algae. You put a pleco in there, within 24 hours, they'll be sparkling clean, I promise you. Are you still using the Cobalt EXT filter? Any dup dates? Whew, it's getting late. Yes, I am using it. I'm still using it. I've cleaned it out several times. It's very easy to clean out. I'm very happy with that. I did have one minor issue with it losing suction, I guess. Basically, my tank started getting really dirty, and I was like, what is going on here? And I discovered the filter just wasn't doing anything. I had the pump for it on the outside of the tank. I actually moved it to the inside of the tank on the intake of the filter, and I have not had another problem since. And that's the way that Cobalt recommends that you use it anyway. Since I did that, never had any problems whatsoever. And it's been rolling on like a champ for me. Boiling rocks will kill the bacteria, John mentioned. Yes. Did somebody ask about boiling rocks? My friend has a fish tank, and I just had his water tested, and if tested to have a lot of ammonia in it. Would boiling the rocks help get the ammonia out? Oh, no. No, Adam, absolutely not. That is the opposite of what you want to do. Please don't boil the rocks. Just like Two Guys Fish and Fries. Is that the name of a restaurant? Because that's adorable if it is. No, don't boil those rocks. Just wait for this video, wait for me to be done, and then go back and watch the replay, and you'll see where I addressed all of that. John, 2 of my Africans died, and now the aggression is unleveled. What can I do to keep the aggression leveled until I buy more fish? Oh, man. I mean, that's another one of those questions. No disrespect, Christian. I just get so sick of answering that question because it happens all the time. But here we go. Mr. Restaurant himself, I'm assuming Mr. because it says Two Guys. Lowering the temperature absolutely does help. You can go to the extreme of moving things around in the tank, redecorating, creating a new environment in the tank. There's a lot of different tricks. I've done several videos about this. In fact, I did a recent live stream about this, about curbing aggression. I would definitely recommend that you watch that. Boiling can blow up some rocks. Ugh. Too much driftwood is dangerous in a tank. No, not to my knowledge. It's getting late in the live stream. Am I a jerk? No, I'm not even going to do it. Never mind. I'm not gonna say what I was just about to say. What does lowering the temp do besides lower metabolism? It slows the fish down. Think about it. If you're outside and it's 12 degrees, you're going to move a lot slower than if you were outside and it was 80 degrees. That's kind of what it does. Now, we don't want you to lower the temperature of your water down to 12 degrees. We want you to bring it down a little bit, but that's what it does. It just kind of slows everything down, mellows everything out. There is some downsides to lowering the temperature, though. Warmer water means healthier fish, more vibrant fish, faster metabolism, which faster metabolism can certainly run its share of problems too. Again, we got to find that good balance. But just like temperature too hot can have its cons, so can temperature too low. Because they can be more susceptible to diseases, because their immune system will drop down, their metabolism drops down, everything just kind of slows down. And so when it slows down, you will your aggression will slow down. It can slow down. When when it's 12 degrees outside, I move a lot faster to stay warm. Not me. If it's 12 degrees outside, I'm staying in. Period. Unless somebody's hurt. I have a hyper African cichlid. It got really big, and I had to put it alone. He is extremely aggressive. Is there a site I can sell him? I mean, let's think about this, Ali. Ali Als? let's think about this for a second. If you're going to sell the fish to somebody on a website, you're probably going to lose money, first of all, because you're not going to be able to sell them for what the fish is worth, because you're going to have to, and you're going to have to charge people shipping and all that kind of. Plus, you're going to have to con the people into buying the fish by not telling them why you're selling the fish. So I wouldn't sell the fish online. I would maybe, well, it is selling it. I would try maybe something like Craigslist, where somebody can come to the house, look at the fish, see it, or meet you at a grocery store or whatever, see the fish, and make their decision after you have told them what's going on. But selling it online is just going to be a recipe for disaster. It's no fun shipping fish, trust me. Good night there, two guys, fish and fries. He never even answered my question, or did he? I don't know. So what's the Richard, I see you a lot commenting on my videos, and I appreciate it a lot. But so what's the lowest? I don't know what you're asking. So what's the lowest you can? Are we going to get the whole sentence on the next one? I'm not breaking your balls here. I'm just wondering. David's channel is pretty cool. Don't know who David is. Check out his video on cichlid aggression. Will do at David. Everybody loves David. Don't even know who you're talking about. And here it comes. Everybody's saying, sub to my channel, please. That's always fun. All right. So, folks. So what's lowest temp? Richard, thank you for clearing that up. That's going to totally depend on the fish that you're keeping. That's really difficult for me to answer. If you were going to be keeping African cichlids, I would say, 78-ish. But I would never tell you that if you're keeping discus. So a lot of it's going to depend on what it is that you're keeping. But the general rule of thumb is going to be 78 to 82 if you want to keep things ideal. But again, just remember that it does have its share of potential problems by lowering the temperature down like that. So, okay. John, are you rocking any Mbuna in your tank? Yeah, I've got about 16 of them in there. So, look, I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here, folks, because I am extremely tired, and it's been a long week for me. And so, but it's been a lot of fun. Again, folks, please, if you like what I'm doing here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. For whatever reason, I haven't figured it out. My subscribers has gone down. My channel is growing, but the amount of subscribers I typically get per month is dropping. I don't know why that is. It's really weird because I'm putting out more videos than I ever have. So it's kind of weird that that's happening. But yeah, sleeping pills are definitely kicking in. Plus being old and out of shape and having worked a lot, 2 jobs, and you know what I'm saying? That's why I'm tired. But anyway, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed to it. I do these every single week. Like I said, send in your emails to kgqa@gmail.com and submit your questions, and you might see them answered on one of these live streams. That'll be a lot of fun. And of course, everybody is open to ask questions at the end of each episode, just like we did today, because that's what I do. At the end of every episode, I open it up to you, and you can ask away. I can't get to every single one. Sometimes I skip them because I don't know the answer, but I try to help as much as I can. So don't forget also to see, and this is always fun. Great. Was online for the entire time and didn't get my question acknowledged. Thanks a lot. Made sure to unsubscribe. That's fine. Thanks for coming. And he typed that while I was saying sometimes I can't get to all of them. Whatever. Have a good life. But check out KGTropicals.com. Even you, Scott, check it out. Check out KGTropicals.com. We'll send your stuff out right away. 10% off for entering Tank Talk in the promo box at checkout until Monday, Halloween. You can't beat that, folks. Free shipping, $59.99 or over. Also, look in the description at the GoFundMe. Help this person out. It's not a stranger, folks. This is a member of our family. And of course, below that is all of our affiliates. We're working with Live Fish Direct, Universal Rocks, Tidal Gardens now. Look down there. If you put in the whatever it says in there into the promo box, all of these companies are giving you big, big discounts. Universal Rocks, too. Did I forget them? How could I forget them? They're the one that I've had the longest. So thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for all of the support. And I guess I'll see you on Sunday. I got to make a video for Sunday. I better get to work on that. Thank you all so much once again for watching, and I'll see you next time.